We've been very clear in the state of Florida that we want people to be able to work and provide for their families. That's something that's very, very important. We've been able to do a lot of good things with the economy, given all the headwinds we're seeing nationally. You just saw the GDP number come out, anemic, far below what it was supposed to be. September jobs, 194,000 nationwide. Florida, in September, we had 84,500 jobs created in Florida. So we are, and then clearly businesses are doing so much better here than they are at almost any other place of the country. And so we're happy with that, and we want to continue to offer opportunities for people. And we've just made very clear, as you now are in an era where there are these heavy-handed mandates that are being hung over people's heads that threaten to deprive them of the ability to earn a living, that in the state of Florida, you have a right to earn a living, and it should not be denied to you based on these shots. And so we want to protect people who are working now in the state of Florida. These people have been working the whole doggone time, and then now all of a sudden they're going to get kicked to the curb? Give me a break. And then we have all these people who work for police and fire. You have some of these local jurisdictions that are trying to penalize some of those folks for that, and we just think that's wrong. Of course, there's a lot of federal mandates that are coming down. There's this OSHA rule that we're waiting for that applies to every business over a certain amount. There's a federal contractor rule, and then there's a CMS rule that's going to threaten to take away Medicare, Medicaid funding for healthcare institutions that don't force this on everybody. In Florida, we believe that these things, are choices based on individual circumstances. There are physicians that will recommend one course of action or another based on your health history. And of course, we know that many people, after now this has been going around for well over a year and a half, many people have recovered from COVID and also have strong immunity through prior infection. So you see that, and that's really what it should be. We also cannot have the federal government coming in exceeding their power. Some of the stuff that they're doing with the federal contract, they're really rewriting contracts, and they're transforming normal contracting into basically public health policy, and that's not anything Congress has ever authorized. And so that's a huge problem. Of course, the OSHA rule is a heavy-handed mandate, never authorized by Congress. They're using really obscure provisions to try to jam something down that will really have a significant impact all across the board. So we do have a responsibility to stand up for our authority here to govern ourselves and also make sure that this constitutional system of ours isn't out of whack. But there's also a practical issue with this, and I think you'll hear from some of the folks. If you do this, if you force this, there's going to be an attrition of people. People are going to lose their jobs. They're going to get fired. Others may just voluntarily walk away. That is going to throw a huge wrench into the operations of so many different aspects of the economy. And right now we're in a situation where, yes, we're happy in Florida. People are looking to us. We've done a lot better. But the United States as a whole ain't exactly lighting the world on fire when it comes to the economy right now. So why would you want to be able to do that? Do you think this is going to help the supply chain problems that we see? Do you think it's going to help lower gas prices? Is it going to help all these problems that we need to do? No, if anything, it will exacerbate. So practically, it just doesn't work. It's not something that is going to work. So last week, we announced that Florida was going to be taking action, and so today we have additional announcements along those fronts to be able to protect people, to be able to protect their jobs, to protect their livelihoods, and quite frankly, protect the whole economy so that it can continue to function. We are nearing the agreed upon dates with the legislature for the special session. I said it would happen in November. It is. I should have those dates hopefully today, and I'll be signing that proclamation either today or tomorrow. So we'll have the fixed dates. We'll know when we're coming in, and we know what we need to do. And the main course of business will be, make sure people are able to keep their jobs. We are not going to deny people the ability to earn a living based on their decisions about an injection. The second thing that we're doing here, and I had promised last week that we were, of course, needing to pursue legislation through a special session, which is what we're going to do. But I also made very clear, given the nature of some of these mandates and how they raise questions about the federal government overstepping its authority, we are also going to need to pursue litigation. And so I'm happy to say today that with thanks to the Attorney General Ashley Moody's leadership, today the state of Florida has filed another lawsuit against the Biden administration. This lawsuit challenges the Biden administration's order imposing a vaccine mandate on federal contractors, which was going to apply on December 8th. And so just because you're a business that has federal contracts, it's not right for the federal government to come in and rewrite those contracts and then try to shoehorn this in. And then if you don't comply, so you either have to fire people, or if you don't comply, they'll just cancel the contract entirely, even though this is something that you bid for and you won fair and square. That's not the way we think business should be done. We don't think that they have the authority to do that. But you are going to see, if we're not successful challenging this, you will absolutely see disruptions in the economy. I mean, just think of all the airline workers that are balking at this. I mean, we've seen different issues in different airlines, and I know that there's very many more. So this lawsuit is filed in the Middle District of Florida, over in the Tampa division, and we are going to seek a preliminary injunction so that this mandate isn't allowed to be imposed at the expense of the jobs of Floridians. And we've got a very big footprint in Florida of companies that do contracting work for the federal government. We've got a lot of them over on the Space Coast of Florida. Of course, we have defense contractors. We have a bunch. And there's a lot of folks that'll be in the crosshairs on this. I think there'll be a lot of folks nationally, but Florida, we've got to be one of the top states in terms of who would be most affected by this. We don't want people to lose their jobs, and we obviously want to keep business going. We want people to be able want the economy to be able to continue function. So we think we know that it exceeds the administration's authority under the current law and Constitution. And I think we're going to be successful in this regard. This is the OSHA rule. That one hasn't even come out. Still, it still hasn't not come out yet after all these weeks. And I wonder whether it's not come out because it's got a lot of problems. I mean, there's not going to be, I think, a very clear path for that to go forward. But this federal contractor lawsuit is not. The contractor rule has not gotten as much play as the OSHA, and these are distinct things. Contractor, I think, has a more limited application in terms of the number of employees it will affect, but I think the bite is probably even more because you're really putting these businesses in an impossible situation where they would potentially lose a lot of their contracts or a lot of their money that is able to sustain them. We are, though, continuing to monitor what is happening with the OSHA rule. We will continue to do that. We're also monitoring what is happening with the CMS rule and how that would affect the healthcare system. I mean, just think about it. We've heard for months and months and months how hard it is to get enough healthcare personnel, how nurses are in short supply. Some of these nurses that are contracted out, they'll travel around the country. Huge money in that. It's very expensive to hire those folks because the demand is so high and the supply is low. And so to impose this mandate on that industry, if you even have a small number who end up, a small number of attrition, that is going to be huge. That is going to be very difficult for a lot of these institutions to be able to function. But again, they're going to be put in a rock and a hard place because they're going to have their funding through most of their patients that they serve potentially limited. We don't think that that's constitutional, but nevertheless, that's the stakes that we're dealing with. So here we are. We said we'd take action, and we are. This lawsuit has been filed. We think that we can hopefully get a preliminary injunction and be able to protect people's jobs from this mandate coming in and kicking a lot of good people out of work. And I want to thank the Attorney General for her work on this. I'm going to have her come up and say a few things, but I will be signing the proclamation for the special session. I said it would happen in November. It is going to happen in November. We think this is a relatively simple proposition. You obviously got to do some legislative legwork, but at the end of the day, people should be able to work, and we want to make sure people are able to work and people are able to provide for their families. And so that's what we'll be seeking during that session. So, okay, Attorney General Moody, she's been busy over the last 10 months, and, you know, it's just the way it goes. So come on up.
Thank you, sir. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today for this important announcement. Governor DeSantis and I have been clear. Never did we dream that in this administration we would be having to repeatedly push back on unlawful actions coming out of Washington, incompetent, reckless leadership coming out of Washington. But we're here. And we said when these vaccine mandates were announced that we would take legal action and push back. And I am proud to say today we are fulfilling that promise, and we have filed action in the Middle District of Florida challenging Joe Biden, NASA, OMB, GSA, and Bill Nelson for mandating that anyone with a federal contract require vaccination of all that work for them. In June, Joe Biden made clear that mandating vaccines, and I'm going to quote, is not the role of federal government. It's true, it's not the role of federal government. They have absolutely no authority to require vaccines of the majority of the U.S. population, none whatsoever. But neither his administration's own acknowledgement that that wasn't within the purview of federal government, nor his statement that he would never do it stopped him when his, and I'm going to quote, his patience wore thin and he became angry at those that weren't getting vaccinated. Only then did he announce he was going to use the federal government, overstep his bounds as president, blur the separation of powers, and demand that the majority of American workers become vaccinated. It is a complete and gross overreach of the federal government into the personal autonomy of American workers. His own press secretary said, well, there's really not precedent for this. Right, there's no precedent for this because it is unlawful. The framers, when they set up this delicate balance of power in our country, the separation of powers which has allowed this country to continue successfully, they didn't ever envision they would have a president that said, we'll do a crafty, unlawful workaround the strict separation of powers. Workaround their words. And so Governor DeSantis, I'm so proud of our governor here in Florida for repeatedly standing up to this administration and reminding them that this is not a dictatorship. President Biden or his handlers don't have the ability to control everything in this country. We, the states, have rights, and our citizens have rights and freedoms. And it disheartened me when I saw this president on national television laugh about freedom. The President of the United States of America laughed about freedom. Freedom is solemn. It is what defines us as a country, as a free country. And Governor DeSantis and I will always stand up for that foundation of this amazing country we live in. This illegal rule tries to do through executive fiat and through agency unlawful action what they have no authority to do. And so today we have challenged in court this unlawful mandate for requiring all federal contractors to require their workers and those that work with them to be vaccinated. You will hear how this is affecting families and people that rely on these federal contracts right here in Florida. Whether that's Space Florida, the Department of Education, our universities, Florida will feel the ramifications. Floridians will feel the effects of Joe Biden losing patience and getting angry. I'm proud to be standing here with this governor and with all these amazing Floridians that came here to support us in our legal actions. We will not back down, and whether it's this or any other unlawful overreach by this president or his administration, we will proudly stand up for Florida and its citizens. Thank you so much.
Thank you.